For August the 2nd, 2024, we talk about Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess, Infection-Free Zone, iRacing, and much more. Welcome to Level 510. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm Moxie.
I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Welcome back, Dennis.
Thank you. Yeah, glad to be back.
Where were you last week?
Oh, I don't even know. Where was I last week?
There was a concert or something.
Right. God, that feels like it was 3 years ago.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I was at an AJR concert, and it was fantastic.
AJR.
AJR.
Automatic Turbo Racing?
Maybe it's an acronym of it's three brothers, and they do kind of like a pop, a little bit electronic kind of deal, very sassy lyrics and creative, and they truly like put on a show, not just do a concert. Mm-hmm. Every song has a little kind of story playing out for it. There's people up on wires. They played a couple songs from the audience, just a couple sections over from me, like came to the very back of the arena to sing. And just in general, we're all about it. The grand finale, like a giant blow up, like a parade float version of one of them came up on stage. So It was something else.
As you do.
Yeah.
As you do.
It was a whole spectacle.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun, and they sounded very good live, which is always, you kind of go in gritting your teeth a little bit, especially for me, like these, again, more pop, electronica-centric bands. I worry, like, how much of this is production, how much of this is them being able to belt it out like this live, and they crushed it. So that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
That's where I was.
Yeah,
forgot about that.
Yeah.
There's other things happening in my world right now that have stolen the entirety of my attention.
We're not quite at 0 hour, but it's pretty close.
Pretty damn close. We're at like hour 36, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm where I need to be, getting ready to launch the Kickstarter for Deck of Wonders and the expansion while I'm at Gen Con. But no amount of preparation can completely get rid of the like panicky 2 days before. So it has been running around like a chicken with my head cut off.
I mean, it's two things, right? It is a fairly complex, basically a product launch, right? Mm-hmm. Where you have to have so many assets in place, and you're worried. You're worried about the response. You're worried about what people's reaction is going to be, like running support for it, hyping it up because those first 24 hours are so important. All of that stuff on top of planning for a convention show.
Yeah. Running events there. And thankfully, like with Origins being my practice run, I've got my con spiel down pretty well. So that'll be hopefully smooth. But yeah, it is everything everywhere all at once right now. Yeah. So I still have the kids for the summer too, right? Mm-hmm. And we had fun today. Like we went out and we rode bikes for an hour or two, and I took him out. Luke, my oldest, just had his 10th birthday, so I took him out to spend his birthday money, and we learned how to cash a check together.
Who wrote a 10-year-old kid a check?
That would be my mom. That is right. Very on brand. But so we get back, we do lunch, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to crank on some stuff. You guys can play video games, and I'll come get you. And then time flies by. And Jen gets home from work, and Luke comes upstairs, and the first thing he announces, "Mom, we got to play 4 hours of video games today."
Oh, jeez. Come on.
You don't. It's on the down low, man. Keep that on the down low.
If you want that to keep happening, you have to be cool.
that is exactly it, and not at all on his radar yet. So maybe a learning experience, but no, it has been a crazy couple days getting ready for Gen Con.
Yeah. Well,
if you're listening to this now, the campaign is live on Kickstarter. So yeah, go look up Deck of Wonders, the Master of Dungeons. Back it if you can, if you're into some solo game goodness. And yeah.
Is there a tier to get the original game too, along with the expansion?
Yes,
okay,
you
cool.
can. I bundle them together if you want. And if you already have the base version of the game, though, you don't have to rebuy it,
right? Even
though it is a reprint. So
you can you can get the bundle, get whatever price break is there, and then give the base copy to a friend.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
not a bad idea. So exciting times in my world, and clearly I am losing track of where I am in reality at the moment.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's becoming more and more of a common experience after COVID,
Yeah.
It's just the way the world works now.
Yeah.
What is time?
Just the way it's all put together.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you're looking forward to seeing at Gen Con? Any booths or presenters or anything like that?
Yeah, well, this is cheating, but I'll get to see Lauren Brown, the illustrator for the original game, in person. And this is like my one time a year that I get to see her. So that's always fun, reconnecting, seeing the new stuff at her booth. I try to get my kids goodies from Gen Con every year, and I usually pull something from her booth because she has Pokemon swag. So that'll be nice.
Is XCOM there?
I do not know.
If you see a booth with just entirely too many dice, that is Chessex, and they are a very good place for like little knick-knack gifts and such.
So this is not the edgy sequel to chess. Okay,
there's
good.
definitely dice booths at Gen Con.
Oh, there's so many dice.
Literally any dice you could possibly imagine.
Saying there are some dice booths at Gen Con is like saying there are some athletes in the Olympics.
Nice. Well, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. Moxie, how about you? What's going on?
Not a whole heck of a lot. Saw Deadpool last week.
As did I.
And what'd you think of it?
I got kind of what I expected out of it, which was a bunch of weird X-Men shit, because I unfortunately Deadpool is the way that you have to get that. Like if there's that's the only way they're allowed to put that stuff on a big screen now. So it delivered there. I wish it was funnier and more coherent.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, my kind of take on it was that, it was very much the degree to which you enjoyed it, would likely depend on the degree to which you cared about all the like random loose ends it was tying up and characters it was introducing and such like.
It's incredibly. I was talking with Garry about this, and he was right. It's very narrow casted for like who it's supposed to appeal to.
Yes,
right.
Yeah.
Like it's
and
weird.
there were some bizarrely like deep cuts in terms of like what you would have to know to
get
some of the jokes.
Is this for the MCU's equivalent of Whales?
It's not even MCU, because like it's stuff that the MCU has never really touched, right?
Yeah, this
So
I would say this
MU?
was to a large degree like all of the things that got left behind either by the MCU or more often by the various things that came before the MCU or that they didn't have rights to.
Yeah.
This was kind of them getting tied into the MCU.
Yeah, it's them like tying up everything from the old Fox Marvel movies, specifically all of the X-Men stuff, right? So like the stuff that was
like,
there for people who are X-Men fans and know comic shit, like that was fine, but the amount of like jokes that just relied on you knowing studio minutia, like all of the all of the things that almost happened and all of the things where just it's
like I think one of them that I found really funny, but again is kind of like you said, things that almost happened is one of the big themes is kind of all these various characters wanting to have people remember them again as heroes, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Gambit, who just has all these weird existential lines about but did anyone ever really know me in the first place?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Which that joke is really funny if you know how many times Gambit movies have been canceled.
Very specifically,
and really not funny if you don't.
Right. Like, if you don't know Gambit, the joke of him is bad costume and I can't understand a word he's saying. And
right, exactly.
and that's and that's what they lean on. I'm here for Gambit. I like Gambit quite a bit.
Yeah.
His fight scenes were really cool. Like, okay, well, you're not going to treat Gambit right? We'll show you how cool this possibly could have been.
And I do have to say that was one thing that I feel like is kind of a payoff is I'm not usually someone who is necessarily like, for a movie to work, it's got to have like gore.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Gambit stuff worked a lot better for having gore that never would have happened in Fox era movies.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I just all of that stuff, any of the things that were just kind of brought in as a throwaway joke or a deep cut or whatever, like characters that were brought back, it kind of just made me want like a serious treatment of them, not a serious, but MCU level seriousness, which is not very, and then suddenly way too serious. But
yeah, I think my favorite just dumb joke was the whole thing with Blade talking about how there's never gonna be another Blade. I'm the only one.
Which also it's only funny if you know how troubled the Mahershala Ali Blade joke is.
Right, exactly.
If you know how screwed that movie is. Yeah.
Yep. And I think my greatest desire from this is that I really hope they do some sort of multiverse or something shenanigans, so that if they ever make a X-Men movie, they can bring back Cassandra Nova, because
they really need to.
That is a really good character.
It's a good character. She's even better in the comics. I'm happy that they kept her reaching into people's faces, because that's a really trippy image. Yeah. I don't know. I wish I liked it more. The stuff that I'm a sicko for, I was a sicko for, but yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think I had, luckily enough, pretty much the ideal scenario, because it was basically me in a theater entirely full of people who were super invested in all of those characters and that sort of thing.
It's like, if you grew up in the 90s and were at all tangentially interested in comics or nerd shit, getting to see a big screen fight between Gambit and Psylocke, it's like, okay, I'm not made of stone. Yeah. Yeah. What were you going to say, Ben?
I was going to say, hearing this makes me want to go play Midnight Suns instead of see the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is Deadpool in Midnight Suns?
He's in the DLC for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to hop on yours. That's also mine. I really don't have that much else that's going on besides, I went to see Deadpool.
Would you guys recommend seeing it on a giant screen in theaters, or is it fine to kind of appreciate on a small screen at home once it's out?
It's fine to appreciate on a small home. It's this era of Marvel movies. The bigger it is, the worse it looks.
Yeah. So I would kind of say both, in that this is not a movie that's like oh, you've got to see this on the big, like if you see one big screen movie this year, see this one. It's definitely not that, like it's a dumb, silly movie. On the other hand, I do kind of feel like if you're going to watch a dumb, silly movie on a huge screen with way too much popcorn, is probably the best way to see a dumb, silly movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of see both, but it is definitely not a like, oh, you have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Ben, how about you? What's going on?
Not a whole lot. I had a nice weekend on Sunday. There was a Skyline Chili homage, I guess, at a restaurant nearby. So I think like 3 restaurant owners kind of put it together who all kind of have tangential ties to the city. And so they had like conies and 3-ways and stuff like that. So I met up with some Cincinnati expats there, and we had dinner, and it was quite lovely. So chili was on point. It was pretty 1-to-1. The buns were like brie-ish buns, so they were way different. And it was like a sausage instead of a hot dog. So a little bit of an elevated experience, but it's close enough.
Okay, I people always ask me because they know, like, oh, I lived in Cincinnati for a while, and do you put chili on your spaghetti or whatever? The answer is I don't care for Cincinnati chili. It's not native to me. I like a meatier, more vegetable-y stew, Texas style chili or what have you. Did you have like non-natives come along and get their opinion of it?
Yeah, my partner was there, and they had a 3-way, and so they enjoyed it. But but yeah, I think everyone. I guess
How
2
are
people
you
got
just
3-ways.
now stumbling on that double entendre?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to move past that one.
Yeah, that's why I didn't dwell on it. It just seemed
Clearly,
awkward.
you've never had to talk about Skyline while dating before.
2 people had 3-ways, and 2 people had 2 cheese conies, so it was kind of split that way. But
Gotcha.
I do love the concept of how 2 people have a 3-way, though.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that's cool.
Also, my take is the only time I have chili on spaghetti is when it would piss off a Texan.
Oh, yeah. That's probably a good way to do it. I mean, if you're going to do anything and it will also piss off a Texan, it's probably worth doing. Yeah. You know what's surprisingly good? And I don't know if any of you tried that. Anybody put chili on a baked potato?
I've
done it on a sweet
does
potato.
sound like a good call.
Yeah. Like we had a baked, when I worked at that marketing agency, they catered in lunches, and one time there was like a baked potato bar for lunch, and they had chili there. I was like, well, I mean, surely this won't. And I was like, oh, actually, this is really good. Yeah.
dude, this is messing me up. I got 1 can of Skyline chili left in my cabinet, and I am hungry. So this this is conjuring ideas.
Episode.
Deploy it tactically. Nice. Well, that's all of us. I think we should talk about video games, and to do that, we ought to do the regular kind of show: what with the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. And why don't we get started with The Grind, where we talk about the things that are happening. Nope, the things that we've been playing over the last period of time or so. I'm a little sleepy. not sleepy enough to justify that mistake, but
I have no room to talk. I didn't remember where I was last week.
Dennis, you've been away, but also busy. Do you have anything to bring to us?
Oh my God, yes. It has been a momentous week. Probably born out of the fact that the way my mind works is if I get busy on one thing, I get busy on everything.
Right.
I literally wrote a song earlier today.
Okay.
I don't like do music. I've never published a song before, but you get in that mode and there's 600 different ways your brain is going. And if you get stuck on the main one you're working on, then the other train is going to move. And so I've been doing a ton of gaming. I got a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah. No, okay. Yeah. I was going to ask. I was going to ask an irrelevant question. Continue.
Okay. Wait, we're skipping over the song thing.
Oh, it's good. It's going to be a Billboard Top 100. I'm
of
sure.
Course. Yeah. Yeah. So what have you been playing?
We'll start with kind of the smallest thing and work our way up. Because not only have I been playing new games, but I've been playing on new hardware.
Oh,
so that's exciting. First up, I have been playing Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess. This is a game on Game Pass, and it kind of captured my interest specifically because of how much it defies any kind of genre categorization. So I'll talk you around, and maybe you guys can help me figure out like what to even call this type of game, because man, it does a little bit of everything. So, at first blush, it is a third-person action game. You got a sword dude. They do sword things when you press the square button, and you're fighting waves of enemies. So it's got, it's not quite as intricate as a DMC or something like that, but it's got that third-person action feel. However, that is all wrapped up in a kind of tower defense, but not really tower defense wrapper. So the game is very light on details for its story. It's more kind of evocative or whatever. So what I can tell is you are escorting a magical princess down the mountain. This mountain has been taken over by evil spirits, and the princess is like uniquely able to cleanse it. And so she's walking this path and cleansing it as she goes. So she's moving forward. The evil spirits, they're called Seethe in the game, are coming the opposite direction at you, trying to get to the princess.
A little bit MOBA almost.
Yeah, actually, it's got a laning kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
But with tower defense wise, you are able to free these people on the mountain, and give them specialties, a woodcutter or an archer or what have you, and then order them to guard certain sections of the pass. So during the day, the princess is walking down the path doing her cleansing thing, and you are running ahead, kind of pre-clearing some areas, freeing soldiers and placing them and kind of preparing for the night. Overnight, the princess kind of stays in place doing the ritual, and these Seethe come, towards her, trying to get her up the path that you are going down.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a time limit during the day?
Yes, so everything runs on a continuous day-night cycle. It's probably like, 3-4 minutes long. So it's pretty snappy going between the two. But it doesn't feel like it's pressuring you during the day. I have yet to have a level where I felt like I couldn't get to everything I needed to during the day. I think it's just a way to kind of do the hey, scout and set up, get familiar with the map you're about to play, without being in some kind of stale map review screen or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of the deal. I would call it tower defense, but it's not tower defense, because at any point you can order your soldiers to another point in the map. And in fact, there's dedicated hotkeys for everybody attack where I am, and then everyone comes flying to you, or everybody go defend the princess, and everyone kind of retreats back to the princess to defend her.
This sounds cool. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I think that technically once you have more than 5 genres, the game becomes Warframe-like.
Oh my God, it's Warframe.
Yeah, no, you actually, this is a mode in Warframe. What I was going to say, and I'm not saying no, like, oh, that's wrong, is this sounds like a MOBA style take on like a third person strategy game, like Sacrifice or Brutal Legend, a little bit.
Or maybe even like a Dynasty Warriors.
It sounds a little Dynasty Warriors-y, except instead of like pressing fronts, it's more about managing, because like you're not trying to push back against these things, you are trying to very effectively stop them from making progress. Like there's nothing to be gained from getting to the portal where they're coming out, right?
Correct. In fact, if you stand too close to the portal, you start taking damage.
Yeah.
So you are very definitively on defense. It's also Brutal Legend is maybe it's got some of that DNA, but it is a much smaller game. So the most units I've ever had at once in a level is 5.
Okay.
And so it's very it's very individual where you're placing people, etc. But I'm not done yet. Wrap that into some light base building in between levels where you are kind of raising up the areas of the mountain that you've cleared and building different structures that then give you bonuses. And yeah, it's such a singular kind of thing that doesn't land in any one place that I don't know how to categorize it, but it is a lot of fun.
I'm starting to understand why they didn't market this, because how could you? And by they, I mean Capcom. I was really surprised to see developed and published by Capcom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weird one for Capcom.
So I'm curious, during the day cycle, like how much choice do you have in preparations? Like, can you pick kind of like different strategies, or is it just like uncover everything?
So a little bit uncover everything in that on the resource gathering front. So like I said, I never felt pressured like I couldn't get to all the resources I needed to set up. The strategic decision comes in kind of identifying all the potential alternate routes that the monsters might take. And then also deciding how many of your units to put ranged versus how many to put in melee.
Got it.
So there's kind of this, how much of the heavy lifting do you want them doing for you up on the front lines? Or do you want to put ranged people in that, have better reach, but aren't going to punch as hard? And that's always been interesting. I never felt like the level had like one correct way to set up, that I was solving a puzzle, or something like that. But you can definitely like put yourself in an easier or more difficult situation, depending on if you correctly anticipate what the bottlenecks are going to be. But even then, like once you've placed your soldiers, like I said, at any point you can move them. So the second you realize, oh, I missed kind of where the main flow of these guys was going to go, you open, tap a button, send a soldier to where you want them. I think you can change their classes even during the battle, though that cost resources. And I've never felt like I had to do that. But yeah, it's a very weird mix up of genres. The presentation on this though is fantastic. I mentioned that it's kind of light on details for the story. And so it's got that vibe of like confident enough to not give you every detail, to kind of show you, not tell you. But it's also wrapped up in a ton of dance. Yeah, you heard that right. We're going to throw another genre in there.
I mean, is it rhythm based, or is it just that like the priestess that you're protecting happens to do a ritual through dance?
Not just the priestess, but all the villagers around her. And if you pay attention, the character that you're playing as is doing effectively like it feels like a capoeira kind of deal.
Okay.
Very maybe wushu, and this is where Moxie you would know better than I, but it is very like dance and performative sword art.
Interesting.
As the battle. And so the rhythm game element, I guess it's kind of more relegated to like a mini game style thing that happens when you actually reach the gate that the sea they're coming out of. But every level is kind of capped off by this big ritual where everyone is just dancing together. And all the movements are very rhythmic, etc. It's not Crypta the Necro Dancer, but like it is in terms of the character that gives the experience really interesting.
Apparently it's okay, I do not speak Japanese. Kagura, which is a Shinto ritual dance.
Okay, very cool. It's just,
are you just pressing
such
like
a crazy mishmash.
Are you just pressing like X triangle, circle, square, or whatever? Like, is it that type of rhythm game, or?
No, it's more a timing. Think Batman Arkham, because every third-person action game is Batman Arkham, where you're kind of tapping square at the right times to keep your combo going, and then knowing when to work in the heavy move within that.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're interested in something that just like will not line up with any other gaming experience that you've had, and that has very good presentation, the monster design, by the way, is amazing. Like very out of Japanese mythology, and it's got a weird like finger centricness to it. I don't know how else to describe it, but
okay.
Just some really really crazy stuff. In terms of the way they move and kind of the way the parts are put together. It's all recognizable human parts. They just aren't quite coming from the places that you expect them to come from. Very interesting game.
Yeah, I had not heard about this at all before you brought it up on the show.
Check it out. It is weird.
When you said the title, I was like, "Oh, that's that." Like it sounds like a visual novel or something. But no,
it's Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch.
Yeah, I'm not saying that just because every there's a Japanese word in it, it must be a certain kind of game. It's just more like that subtitle more than anything. Wild that I have not heard about this at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, now you have. Check it out.
Now I have. Yeah,
check it out.
All right, so that is the tamest thing I've been playing this week, believe it or not.
Okay.
Because, friends, I got myself a Quest 3.
Holy
right,
shit.
Baby. We are at the next level of VR.
Okay.
Ooh.
And it is sweet. I've been kind of just lazily checking Facebook Marketplace every now and again, and found one at a severe discount with someone was selling near me. So just hopped in the car, went and picked it up. This poor person had gotten the whole setup and then realized they have terrible motion sickness in VR.
Oh, that's awful.
So,
yeah.
Help them recover a little bit of that investment and got one for myself. As someone who distinctly does not get VR motion sickness, I can jump into pretty much anything, and jump into pretty much anything I did.
Okay.
I'll talk about one game I played from the Oculus Metastore, Oculus Store, whatever it is.
It doesn't matter. None of this matters.
Yeah, no. But it feels like I always pick the wrong one when I'm talking to someone.
Yeah.
Because I'll be like, oh yeah, I've got an Oculus now.
Vendatron.
Yeah. And they'll be like, what's an Oculus? The Meta Quest? Oh yeah, that. And then when I choose Meta Quest first, they're expecting the other thing. Anyway, regardless, one of the first games I checked out was a Rocket League type game called Ultimechs, which, first off, kudos on that portmanteau. Ultimechs is choice right there.
Okay.
And it is almost Rocket League verbatim, except the most important thing, if you're playing in VR, you are not in a car that is careening around and doing flips.
Okay.
Essential to being able to enjoy it. No, you're a mech that is on the ground, and you can move between nodes in the arena. And actually, if another mech is on a node, you can't move to it. So there's a little bit of positioning there. But the main way you interact with this giant soccer ball, and the arena has the dome over it the same way Rocket League does, is you can fire both of your hands Baymax style from Big Hero 6.
Oh yeah, rocket punch.
fists.
Gotta have rocket punch.
you've got Rocket Punch. And by just turning your wrist as your hand is flying through the air, you can steer that hand as it goes through towards the ball.
It's like Nintendo's. It's
doing the Macross.
Yeah, or the Nintendo Switch launch game ARMS. Everybody remember ARMS?
No, how could you? It's called ARMS.
Yeah, but you've got you can do it like aftertouch. You can steer it while it's in the air. Okay.
Yes. And between that being very intuitive and then how hard you're squeezing the trigger determines how fast the arm is flying. You can get very intricate with controlling the ball very quickly. You've got two of these hands available to you at any point. They come back to you faster if they make contact with the ball. And then obviously your opponents are doing the exact same thing, trying to maneuver the ball. So you are less moving with the car in Rocket League and more watching the car move. And I feel like half of the difficulty of Rocket League was controlling things from that perspective of the car and being like right on top of where you are in the air, being able to control it from basically on the ground as you're flying a remote control plane allows you to, it makes the skill floor much higher, I guess is the way I would say it.
Also, situational awareness is much easier in VR, which is kind of, a little bit unintuitive, but like when I play Rocket League, the few times that I did, my issue was I'm controlling this like a car, but the camera I can never keep track of where the ball is in relation to where the car is.
Yeah.
For this, just being able to intuitively look around seems like it would be much better than trying to follow something with a stick.
Yes. Yeah. And it's all about that perspective that makes you feel at home. There's also like, you miss a shot and the ball gets knocked past you, rather than having to turn your car around and get back, towards it, you literally just twist. Yeah. And you're facing the right direction again. There's a little bit of strategy with moving between the nodes, because obviously if you're right in front of your goal, you have the most visibility and are the most defensive, but that means your rockets have to travel the furthest to reach the ball, so you're much slower to engage with it. So as you're pressing the attack, you want to be moving up the field so that you can be hitting the ball faster. That then opens you up to having to scramble backwards if you lose control of the ball. It's got the whole sports arena vibe, and this it just fits. It is a great kind of riff on the Rocket League formula. And was a lot of fun. I got a little bit of time, like actual multiplayer. Mostly what I did was play against the AI, and like you can go up levels of difficulty in the AI. I got about halfway up before I started getting having some trouble. In multiplayer though, it didn't take long to find a match. The person absolutely trounced me.
Yeah.
So while the floor is higher, the ceiling is still very high as well.
Yeah.
But at no point did I feel like my failings were because I wasn't able to do something that I was trying to do. Does that make sense? Like my ability to execute was there from the start. Now it's truly making good decisions and being aware, etc., which I think is a lot more fun of a way to play than I can't control this thing and it's doing silly stuff.
It's just an advantage that VR has, especially if it's motion based. It's easier for it to be a little bit intuitive. Obviously, there are unwieldy control schemes in VR, but just if it's just movement, then you move. If it's just looking, you look.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is Ultimechs.
What are the team sizes?
You can do 1v1 or 2v2.
Okay.
And again, because it's node based, I feel like that's the most you could have in the arena before it would get really annoying being on top of each other.
How many nodes are there?
Oh, you're gonna make me do math. Probably like 10, probably like 20 or so around the arena.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not a small number, but like as you're trying to flow to the action, there's a couple important nodes at any given moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a ton of fun, and that immediately validated the decision to purchase this Quest.
Yeah.
I'll talk about a game that made me worried about my decision in a second here.
Okay.
If there aren't any other questions, but yeah.
No,
Ultimechs.
This looks cool. It's free too.
Oh yeah, free to play, and I mean it's got the battle pass and everything, but
of course, yeah.
Yada cosmetics.
Yeah.
So I, in addition to now having a VR headset, I've got the racing wheel, and that is kind of the thing that pushed me over the line into like, okay, maybe it's worth getting a VR headset I can connect to my PC.
Right.
I've heard racing in VR is extremely good.
You've done a little bit of that. Like you used to play. Oh wait, no, the Trials didn't have a VR mode. You were just playing it on the big screen in your PSVR, right?
And then I think I had Wipeout.
Yes,
the VR Wipeout game, which was extremely good, but like nobody played that. So I jumped into through Game Pass again. I had F1 23, so the Formula One like official racing game. And I'm like, all right, that feels like the right place to start. However, it was a buggy mess. First, I had to do an hour's worth of tweaking in the settings just to get the game to start up in VR the way I wanted it to. The screen was randomly choppy and slowed down, which if you're in VR, you do not want that.
No.
But that was just on like the starting screen. Once you were in the race, everything was butter smooth until you finished the race. And the second you crossed the finish line, it crashed the game.
But
as you do.
Too fast for the CPUs.
That's what I was worried about. Is like, oh my god, I was using the Quest or Link, where you use a cable to plug it into your PC.
Yeah.
But again, you had to do you basically had to fight the interface to get it to recognize, and then you had to have the meta video script running, but you started the Steam one. And then the game would load its launcher, which would tap into Steam, but then display on the meta one. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And clearly stuff wasn't talking, but I'm like a couple races in being like, when this is smooth, it is the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Like it is so cool to be driving a Formula One car around the track, but I can get maybe 10 minutes of enjoyment out of this before it crashes and I'm fighting the hardware again.
Ah, jeez.
Did I fuck up? Was this a bad decision?
I mean, for that one, and maybe.
Yeah, well, that led me to a dark place, a place I'm not sure I'm going to come back.
This was
from.
This was F1 2024. Was what you said?
23. 24 is paid.
Gotcha.
But I started reading online, and thank God, it's like, okay, the consensus online is that the Formula One games are absolutely shit for VR. Like they put zero effort into making it work. They only did enough that they could say it had a VR mode.
Okay.
Really, if you want to race in VR, what you've got to do is iRacing.
Oh, fuck, no.
Okay.
Hey, Dennis, I'm going to need you to step away from the fucking computer. Holy shit. Oh, no, Dennis, no. I can't have you go this way.
It's too late, baby.
Fuck. You have kids, Dennis.
I know. And I'm launching a project. I told you, when I get busy on one thing, I get busy on everything. I can't stop myself.
I'm not even talking like from an addiction standpoint. I'm just talking about it's so expensive. Next thing you know, you're going to be buying bucket seats, like a full rig.
If I can resist getting more gear than I already have, which I've got a wheel and I've got a VR headset.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait a minute. What did you just buy?
Yeah.
You're at the very least going to get another wheel that has a stick shift.
Oh no, I won't yet. Okay. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
I'm just, it's kind of, if I'm reacting the way that you would if you said it, like I would if you said you were going to buy a boat.
Right. Or try black tar heroin.
I might be repeating you, but you're acting the way that when you started playing Magic, so I'm worried.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Uh-oh. But yeah, so let's compare and contrast the experience, though. All right. F1 23 sucked and did not like deliver. With iRacing, I downloaded the thing. I pushed the start button. I was immediately in VR and racing. I did not have to set up my wheel. I did not have to download extra programs. I didn't have to fiddle with what script was running. It just worked on the first try. And baby, it's beautiful. I'm on 90 hertz right now, and it's butter smooth, and feels better than any of the other racing games I've played. And what the cool thing was, like, I actually recognized the tracks that I'm driving on because Forza is real world tracks for the most part. And then iRacing obviously is all based on real world tracks as well. So I dropped into Lime Rock Park, and drove that, and it's, you know, it's the same place, but it feels so much more real. And you know, okay, you're in VR, duh. But the thing that I noticed more than anything else with iRacing was the way my wheel responded when I went up on the curbs, like the little warning tracks on the side as you're going around corners. Just the feedback from touching that was so much more distinct and noticeable. And it's like, oh, okay, no, I intuit based on the way the wheel moved, the way my wheel in game hit that. Like, that makes total sense. And, you know, for anyone who drives a car regularly or has grown up driving or whatever, you know, you just get a feel for your car, like physically where it is. And when you run over something, you're like, oh, that was a bunny, or that was a possum, or that was my
Does
brother.
this happen often in this race?
So here's a question: do you have a dumb question? You have a force feedback wheel, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, correct.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So they're probably doing something like modeling the tire, and you know, the shape of the curb, and just, you know, because like when you run into a curb like that, what you feel is the wheel just kind of like correcting to get the tire to not be running anything but parallel to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I never realized driving, you know, Forza which is, you know, purportedly being realistic. That's just not in there. Like, you get a little rumble to tell you're on a rumble strip, but you don't meaningfully feel the wheel move like I did driving in iRacing. So yeah, there's a whole nother level of simulation going on here. The VR just works and is beautiful. And yeah, you guys will probably never see me again.
Yeah. Again, I'm not so much worried because you've played plenty of compulsive things. I think that, you know, you're an adult. That's fine. It's just there are stories.
Oh, I mean, let's not go too.
You have
I like what Kole is saying.
You have, at the very least, immediate obligations and loved ones who will pull you out of whatever hole you're gonna get down. I'm thinking more in terms of that game is so aggressively monetized.
No, you can pour a lot of money into iRacing for sure. No, so it's not that my family is going to pull me out. It's that I'm going to pull my family in. I already have Barrett sitting on my lap and watching in VR as I drive slowly around the track. He loves it.
I don't know if you're supposed to put a kid that young in VR.
Is that right? Is that bad?
Yeah, I think that's a really bad thing.
Yeah, that's how they get abducted by the internet elves.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing your parenting on this. It's just that, like, there are like warnings and stuff about it, like something to do.
Yeah, I'll look into it. He seemed pretty happy, but you know, he also did like 5 minutes, not an hour long session. Or anything.
Yes.
So yeah, but you know, this is a lot of fun. I expect you'll be hearing about iRacing again. I've got to decide now how to split my time though: Trackmania or iRacing.
You'll find your balance. Just play whatever you feel like. It's not an obligation.
Yeah.
Wait, is Trackmania not in VR? That sounds like that should be the most VR game ever.
It's not, and it should be. And yes, I will be writing Ubisoft to let them know they need to get on that, since now it's relevant to me.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So that is what I've been doing over the past couple weeks, and expect more VR shenanigans to come.
Now that you have this, so like connecting to the computer in order to play a Steam game with a controller, it's not gonna, like, that's gonna be a pretty bad experience no matter what. However, if you download the Steam Link app for your for like it's native to the Quest, like all you have to do is enter a pin, and suddenly you can stream any Steam game that you have that happens to be VR directly to it and play it as if it's native with just,
hell yeah.
Depending on how good your wireless is, there might be like latency or, chugging, but you might have access to many more VR games than you're aware of just from bundles and stuff. Yeah. I
need to boot up Tabletop Simulator in VR.
Yeah.
I haven't done that yet, but that's one I know I have.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole round of Steam VR games that I need to go and check out now.
You should play Half-Life Alyx sometime before August the 8th, just to stick it to Ben.
Stop it. No, stop it. I was being quiet for a reason.
Don't worry, I'll be too busy iRacing.
Yeah.
So nice. that is me.
Cool. Yeah, no, the new hardware is always exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've got one. It's relatively new. Over the weekend, I streamed a game called Infection Free Zone,
which is very ironically named.
Yeah, there's tons of infection happening there. So something that will inform this discussion that I think a lot of people need to be aware of is, though Moxie and I have been friends since like literally small days, like preschool, kindergarten, stuff like that. All four of us met because we went to the University of Cincinnati together. We happened to be three of us were in the same like dorm suite, but Dennis lived right across the hall from us.
Damn, you're gonna put me on blast like that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry fate couldn't align us better.
We got to know Caleb through that, and that was cool. So like I'm about to get kind of like super local. That's because this is a strategy game. Like a real-time worker management colony builder, Frostpunk-alike kind of thing that doesn't have built-in maps. Instead, what you do is you look for a location on Earth. It literally pulls in shit from Google Earth, and then that becomes the area that you need to, build up into a place where people can survive.
That sounds awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was
there were a ton of these like map-based games on mobile once they could kind of assume everyone had access to a map.
Yeah.
But it kind of stayed in that mobile sphere. So this is very interesting.
Yeah. So this is early access. It's not complete. And as I was playing it, I kind of felt myself running out of things to do. But what was there, was entertaining enough. So I streamed this and, I picked the area around the University of Cincinnati as my home base, right? Or just like as the region that I was playing in. I wanted, for my home base to be one of the buildings on the campus. However, it warns you that trying to set up a headquarters inside of a building that is too big can get very difficult. So they warned me to place it somewhere a little bit smaller. So my headquarters was in the building that used to be Papadino's.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
The only acceptable zombie apocalypse headquarters.
Well, because that's where you get the cheese fries.
Yeah, exactly.
Smell the cheese fries.
So you have to insist cheddar, not mozzarella. Go ahead.
Do you need a certain density of landmarks to make this work? Like you couldn't do this in the middle of the Saharan desert?
That's interesting. I poked around and running this in my around where I live now, and the less densely populated or buildings a place is, the higher the difficulty is rated, just because you have fewer places to scavenge in. There are some tiles where it just doesn't let you select it. So I imagine the middle of the Sahara is off limits. But like I picked some places around where I live now, and it's like, hey, this is too rural. This is going to be really difficult. And I was like, okay, well, I know I'm familiar with a location that's a little bit more densely packed. Yeah. So like, what's kind of neat about this is that like it pulls in the map information. And it is very accurate is the wrong word, just because it makes it seem like, okay, yeah, that building looks like what it would look like. But it knows from Google Maps, like, what is a restaurant, what is a place where, like, you know, sporting goods or, like, you know, hardware equipment would be. And because I was next to a university, there were lots of places where I could send out scavengers in order to like get research materials to, like, power the tech tree, right? Because everything was a library, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah. You know, and you're doing all this on the map. It's not like it's pulling down and you're doing third person. Like, it's a, you know, overhead, relatively lo-fi in terms of, like, the fidelity of what is there. But it was really neat, to just play it like I'm an old person playing Google Maps and going around and saying, "Oh, hey, Murphy's is still there. Awesome." You know, but, like, you just, you know, the fact that, like, oh, like, a college campus around there is actually a pretty good place to do this. Right.
Yeah, my one disappointment is that they did not properly capture how impenetrable Crosley Tower would be.
It did show that there were more. It did show more windows than are on the actual thing. Crosley Tower, what is that? It's the second largest single pour concrete structure in America. It's this big brutalist building. Yeah,
and it literally doesn't even have an entrance on the ground floor. Like, it's just very bizarrely built.
Yeah. Unless they've remodeled it too. It's like the most 70s thing ever on the inside.
So they're tearing it down.
What?
Yeah, they're going to demo it, which I mean, I kind of get, but it's still
gonna be like Godzilla. It won't be destroyed.
No,
right.
It's got to be a safety
landmark.
thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Crosley Tower in the rain is the most Silent Hill ass thing I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a menacing building. It literally, you know, we called it the Tower of Sauron. Just because of the way that it looked. You could Photoshop a big red eye over it. But, like, I don't know, it was pretty cool, you know, after I set up in Papadino's, just, like, sending people out to scavenge in places and then, like, work up and down, like, the streets where we used to live, you know, you know, I found my place on Victor. You know, I found I found like rough approximations of where all of you lived. I didn't send anybody over to
turn off bottles.
I didn't send anybody over across the campus to Turner Hall. It was a little bit too far because there are, like, roving packs of zombies. Mostly during the night. If it's raining, then the zombies will come out because it is dark enough. But you want to be able to call in all of your workers, but also your squads, who you more directly control. You know, to defend the place, but also not to get surrounded when they're out there. But
is there anything that attracts them to your base? Or they just, like, run to you if they're in the area?
They just kind of run to you if you're in the area. I don't know if it's modeling, like, sound, like, if you know, because you set up, like, guard towers and stuff. Eventually you're able to build walls and things. But yeah, I think that they just know where to come get you because that's where people are.
So
yeah.
I would love to see, from where I saw this game, I would love to see them, like, a mod or an alternate mode or something that was more, you know, where the odds were kind of tipped a little bit more in your favor, but it was almost more of, like, a real-time strategy, like retake the city type of a thing.
Yeah.
Because this seems like, at least from what I saw, it's very much kind of the Project Zomboid of the, like, sooner or later you're going to lose type of thing.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure what, like, there is no, like, end game for it, which I don't. Yeah, like, I do not know how you conclude it other than saying, like, oh, you found the thing that makes you safe forever. No clue. There is some story stuff, like you get emergency signals from stuff around, and like the area of the map that you can send people on expeditions out to, like the directly explorable stuff is not, it doesn't zoom out. However, you can just say like, okay, like this particular square of the city, like send people on a far away, send people on an excursion out there to loot, and then they'll come back. You're also dealing with raiders, and those can come at any time of day. My biggest problem with the game, at least so far, is that it didn't feel dangerous enough. Basically any death that a character I was commanding around suffered was because I made a very, very bad decision. And never really ran into so much of a resource crunch that I was having difficulty surviving. It just made it so that I wasn't expanding as quickly as I wanted to keep it interesting. So it feels like it feels like it needs more tuning to make it feel a little bit more kind of stringent, because I definitely, like, I could have kept going. Like, I could have gone into this week on the stream, but I felt myself getting kind of bored. But yeah, that's kind of where I come down on it, is like, it's a work in progress, and the trick that it does of pulling in that information about, the buildings in a place that you're familiar with and modeling a survival scenario in it is neat, and does go a pretty fair way, to making it engaging to me.
Yeah.
It also did seem like they, not only pulled in the core map stuff, but also kind of looked at maybe some of the like names of buildings.
Yeah. It did,
which I thought was cool.
It did pull in business names, which was neat. However, it ran into weird things where it doesn't recognize mixed use developments. So you get something like that big long kind of like strip mall looking looking building that had apartments above it, like on the south side of campus there. That whole thing was called a T-Mobile store. Like there was a whole apartment complex that was gigantic. That was like some kind of taco place.
Apocalypse.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Clues of how the dystopia happened.
But I noticed also, for example, like, Crosley Tower was a tower. And
Yes.
I'm assuming there's no way, Google Maps would tell you that. So I'm assuming they just looked at, oh, this is called tower, therefore depict it as a tower.
It has to be. So I do not know what what information the Google Maps API lets you bring in, right? Because buildings do get a kind of rough 3D model on Google Maps.
That's true.
And also, like, the house where I lived was a red house, right? It's red. It's still red, because I occasionally will get high and go there in Google Maps or Map Explorer apps on my on VR, right? And then just like look at the here's what it was like in 2007, and then just like flip forward a couple of years as they took new samples and watch a tree out front grow and just starts crying.
Watch Connected in New York.
Yeah. Just get lost in a little world. But like the house, what feels like it should have been the house, was red in the game. So I think it's pulling in something that is reflective. That is reflective. Like even the Crosley Tower thing, like it was a tower, but it was like vaguely in the shape of, like, it had that kind of like upside down flange kind of look too.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know specifically like what it is scraping, what it is getting from the API or there, but it feels pretty faithful. Yeah. So that's a lot of time just describing a Google Maps trick, but there's the beginnings of what could be a good colony builder game in there if the stakes were a little bit higher. Yeah,
that's got to be incredibly hard to balance.
Yes.
But,
yeah. The only other thing I've been playing is XCOM 2. I really wish somebody told me that this was a good game. Yeah. No, we're playing that for WoF, and I'm like 40 hours in. And it's good. We are doing War of the Chosen. I'm very much in the I can't imagine playing it without it. Honestly, the stuff that it adds is so huge. But yeah, I'm in the basically I could go and do not the final missions, but like it's not showing me new enemies anymore. And I have, the beam weapons or whatever, the plasma weapons. Like I could just run all of the final missions if I wanted to, but I've got to be safe and I've got to expand across the map. Blah blah blah. Got to do this right. But
yes, ignoring the main quest is always the right way to play.
Yes. Well, I just because like everything else, the random shit that it's going to throw at you is going to get harder so much faster. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's fun. I like it. I'm on my third Ben Merkel. For some reason, you keep on dying. Yeah, Moxie,
alien sympathizer.
Yeah, how many times have I died?
No, you've actually you're one of my earliest to really start ranking up. So you've been, yeah. You're a grenadier on the demolitions track. Yeah, Ben is a specialist in the like the hacking.
Apparently not.
Dennis, you're kind of low rank. I'm sorry. Yeah, I believe that you are you're a shotgun ranger, and I'm a sharpshooter on the like the marksman quick draw path. Yeah. And like a bunch of other people. Like I've got a whole bunch of network people on there because that adds the stakes. I want to try and keep you all alive.
This is good. Are you playing with any mods?
Where it's like possible to like raid an SCA headquarters, whatever, and equip all your guys in medieval gear?
No, I don't think so. Maybe there's a mod.
That was a DLC that came before the expansion.
Oh, okay.
So that it was like Raiders or something.
Yeah.
And those cosmetics are all in the War of the Chosen, but I think they show up at a lower rate. So every once in a while you get a guy with like a spike mohawk or that sort of thing. Those were a bespoke DLC, launch DLC though.
Yeah, you can like the anarchist stuff or the any of those cosmetic things. You can just like customize a character to have those as well.
Oh, okay, that makes
Raider armor and things like that. I'm not playing it with any mods because I we're talking about it on WoF and I don't want to describe like I don't know. Yeah, it was really weird that they gave the Sectopod such a lovingly rendered vulva and have people think that it was I didn't want to present that as being part of the actual product as opposed to, part of a mod making scene.
Yeah, I meant like numeric health display so that you don't have to count pips every time you want to figure out your damage. But that too.
Yeah.
Oh, there are so many Viper mods.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh no,
for the scalies. Yeah,
that's Chimera Squad, please.
The Vipers are is that what they call them, scalies? Or am I just making it up?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. I want to make sure I get my nomenclature right. I want to be respectful. So that's me. Just an infection-free zone and XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. Big strategy month. Big strategy week.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Who wants to go next? Okay, Ben,
I can go next because it'll be very, very short.
Yes, you go, Moxie.
So I played almost nothing. I've been, just running around doing all sorts of things. I guess I should say I played nothing interesting. With, I think I mentioned last week, with TennoCon going on, all of the items that normally are kind of dribbled out over the course of the year and their every other week vendor were all on sale like for a limited time, just immediately. And so I spent a significant portion of last week just farming up currency for it.
Okay.
So I ended up what I went with. I got two fairly important to end game, or like really you don't need any of this stuff for end game, but for optimal play, I guess, for meta, mods for my weapons, and then I think I mentioned got the dual nail gun submachine guns, which is a lot of fun. But the thing I'm most excited about is the original Dark Sector, kind of the game that was the prototype of Warframe, was real big into you fighting with the sort of weird throwing star weapon, and while in your offhand using a high caliber pistol.
Okay.
And that's something that's eventually been added to Warframe, where the throwing melee weapons are the only ones where you can still use your pistol in the offhand. And there's a couple of specialized mods for that. So like ones that basically any kills you get with your pistol reset the timeout on your like melee combos, and likewise there's one that's any kills with your melee weapon make your pistol reload super fast. So I picked those up. Those are by no means meta, or probably actually an effective way to play the game, but I think they're going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you should probably play it in a way that's fun to you.
Yeah, you tend to think so. So that was the grindy element of it. The more ridiculous element of it is one of the bosses is sort of this like arena mistress type character that you have to fight your way through the arena and then finally face her, and that's one of the things of the game. And every summer for the month of August, there is a event that the justification is that the arena gets a gas leak that makes her a little wacky.
Okay.
And she just declares that she's tired of the arena, and instead sends all of her troops to the beach to have water gun fights.
Okay, so it's like a yearly beach episode.
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it is straight up just you doing the same arena fights, except that you are only equipped with super soakers that you have to pump in order to like have them go more than 5 feet, and very much kind of do a set amount of damage. So instead of it being it's much more like a Mario mini game version of the Warframe combat.
Mm-hmm.
Also, everyone is wearing various like bull floats and like inner tubes and stuff like that because
you want it to be safe.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can do this. It's it's a fun change of pace, and you can unlock some unique cosmetics. The big one I've got my eye on is that there's one of the equipment slots, cosmetic slots, is called like Epheria or something like that, and they're basically various like auras, or like you're constantly surrounded by like bats, or you leave an after image, or badass stuff like that. However, in this case, you're just constantly surrounded by like random fish swimming around you.
Yeah.
And not even like, I don't know, like sharks or something. We're talking like trout and stuff.
Yeah.
So I
is somehow
appreciate
scarier.
I mean, when you really think about it. So I appreciate how silly that is. Nothing is funnier than when you go up to a boss fight in like a pickup group and see people decked out in these ridiculous cosmetics. So yeah, that's what I'm grinding for right now.
Gotcha. Do you have plenty of time to get it? Like to?
Oh yeah, it is like the entire month of August.
Oh
So
yeah.
It's
Plenty of runway.
yep.
Nice. That all?
That's it.
Cool. Ben, round us out.
Just got two things to talk about. First one's pretty small, but I got the Daft Punk DLC for Beat Saber, and I've continued to play that since last week. I've kind of started to figure out like my favorite songs, and I've kind of progressed in the difficulty a bit. So I'm like, I can do expert mode on some of the earlier songs and like hard mode on some of the later songs. And trying to like work my way up maybe like half a difficulty to do difficulty above that. But yeah, mostly just using it as a way to exercise more or less, or be active while listening to music. It's pretty enjoyable for that. And I showed it to my partner, so they got to play a couple songs, and they were really into it since I don't play video games too often, so that was a huge win. So yeah, it was enjoyable. As far as like the Daft Punk songs themselves, they're pretty good. It's some of the tracks from the live CDs are really good, especially one of the tracks they include is a mashup of One More Time and I think it's like Technologic, like the Harder, Faster, Better, Stronger. That one, yeah. So that's a really good one. One that I haven't been able to beat on hard mode, like the normal difficulty, is Prime Time of Your Life is like a 10-minute Daft Punk song off their live album.
Oh wow!
And so that is very sad when you're like 6 minutes into a song and then fail it and have to kind of walk away.
We call that the green grass and high tides problem.
But overall, enjoy those tracks. If you like Daft Punk, it could be worth it for you. But yeah, in general, the bass songs are just as good too. So enjoying those, and I'm kind of at the point where I think I at least know all the songs or have a good feeling for which ones are where. And I've started like hearting the songs that I like more than others. So yeah, anyway, that's a very enjoyable VR experience. So shout out to you, Dennis, if you're looking for something like that, if you haven't played that already.
I'm going to need to pick up the slack and start playing more VR shit now that this is a thing here.
It's starting to take over the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing more to say about it besides that. Still good. I did play drunk one time too, and that was an interesting experience because you're much more go with the flow, so you don't worry about like a few misses here or there. But then there's definitely times where you are not as sharp and cannot like anticipate something fast coming down the lane. So it's an interesting trade-off.
No one believes me the merits of drunken martial arts training. No one believes me.
Unpredictability.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I've started playing, and I'm not sure how far down I'll go with it, is I've started playing Persona 5. Okay. This one had been on my wish list for a while, and it was on sale over the summer sale, so I picked it up then. And in typical JRPG fashion, I probably put maybe 3 or 4 hours into it, and I feel like I'm barely anywhere at all. So I've just gotten to the school essentially and started doing stuff with that, and they're just explaining kind of some of the mechanics that are going on. Shrug, I don't know. It's the story's pretty good, at least so far, or at least it's interesting. I am impressed by the kind of the quality of it, where it's it will jump in and out of being a game and just watching a full-fledged anime episode of whatever they're doing. So that's interesting. I would like to kind of see the more deeper mechanics of the game before I kind of make any sort of judgment on it of whether I want to see it through to the end or not. But yeah, I imagine that is kind of farther and farther away. The story's at least intriguing so far, though. I feel like that's something that usually is kind of a hard thing with JRPGs, is where I'm not as invested into the characters, but at least they have a sense of intrigue so far. So yeah, I don't know. I forget who has played this on the podcast. Dennis has, right?
Dennis has, and I think Jala took a run at it a little bit.
Okay. yeah, the combat itself kind of feels like it's starting to move towards like Pokemon type stuff, where it's like you're just trading out personas instead of Pokemon, and people have different ones, like that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But we'll see. I haven't really gotten there yet, so I won't jump my horses yet. But
that's a Persona thing. You know, you are building up demons.
Yeah. Don't have much more to say about it besides that, but yeah.
Cool.
And then hopefully in a week I'll be able to play Half-Life Alyx, but we'll see.
Yes. Do you have that cable like pre-ordered anywhere, or are you just going to try and find it local?
Yeah, I've been looking for it. I don't see pre-orders available for it, so I might just try and pick it up day of going to a store and doing it that way. I do have Half-Life Alyx already, though. So
yes. You picked that up on sale, right?
Yep, nice. Correct. And then I guess I'll talk about this in the news story. So nothing.
Okay.
I'm done.
Nothing to see here. Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and you answer it. Dennis, what is the question that you asked the nice people?
Yeah, I want to hear what we have that at home versions of games are actually pretty good. So a lot of times there's games that are clearly following something more mainstream, but they manage to do it pretty well. So what games are those?
Yeah, you include accessories here too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, correct.
Yeah. I'll get started here with Peter. Peter says, not sure if it would be considered a knockoff, but in my college days, I picked up my fair share of, quote, subpar games. The first one that comes to mind is Future Tactics: The Uprising. It filled an itch for when I needed to escape my despair of student teaching. Coming forward to today, I know it's not technically a knockoff, but Jeanne d'Arc is a niche tactics game that tried to capitalize on the tactics craze, and now that it can be replayed on PS4/PS5, it's been a welcome reprieve after the deep dish crust-filled pizza that was Shadow of the Erd Tree. Yeah,
nice.
It is like a strategy tactics heavy week, isn't it? Yeah, Future Tactics, Uprising,
the polygons.
I can. Oh, yeah. This is so that is very much a game that is trying to be like a little bit of a knockoff of the aesthetic of Advance Wars.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
Which is now a knockoff of itself.
Yeah, and Jeanne d'Arc. I don't know. You don't know which of these games have shooters, but like to me, that just feels like a knockoff of the Nippon Ichi software strategy game La Pucelle, kind of a something that they worked on after after Disgaea was the deal. Interesting game, also about young French women. So I'm reconciling this. I'm bringing it back to the topic for you. Moxie, what does Aaron say?
Aaron says, of the knockoff Souls games I've played, Remnant from the Ashes turned into a surprisingly solid game with the strongest build variety I've seen since Elden Ring. The Swarm mod turned the final boss of the game into a cakewalk. Yeah,
that final boss in Remnant 1 is kind of bullshit.
I don't think I ever finished it. Yeah, I think I got there and watched a video.
Yeah.
Okay. I can never remember. Is this the one where you play as a caveman or as a Fallout character?
Fallout character.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is this the one where you're like traveling through the multiverse, but that didn't narrow it down.
Yeah.
No, not at all, actually.
This is I think this game suffered the most from being reduced in the marketing.
Yeah.
Because it's Souls, but with guns.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yes, but the implications of that are a lot more interesting than you're giving it credit for.
Yeah. And also it was a confusing product because it is also roguelike and co-op multiplayer.
Yep.
You know? It is a weird sell, I think. For being a game
put it in the Kunitsu-Gami box.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck are you?
Yeah. One of you needs to play enough to get to the teleportation level in the on Earth that we can talk about, by the way.
Oh, yeah. In the first game or in
in the first
2?
game?
Oh yeah, no, I've beaten. Yeah, I've beaten.
Oh, did you get through the? Did you get to, what is it, like Lloyd's lab or whatever with the teleportation stuff?
Yeah, the literally the prestige.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I love that. That reveal is one of my favorite. Yeah.
And Ben, what does Callum say?
Callum says, Beyond Oasis, the story of Thor. Basically a Zelda game for the Mega Drive. This was my first exposure to this style of game, as I had never had a Nintendo system growing up. You summon spirits to fight and do puzzles, and the combat includes light fighting game inputs to do special moves. Revisited recently in the Mega Drive collection and still had fun with it.
There were a couple of things like this. Like there was Beyond Oasis. There was Landstalker, which was an isometric version of this. Just like the weird parallel universe that people mostly in Europe and Brazil lived in, where the lead SKU was Genesis Mega Drive, and they just didn't get a bunch of the. Yeah, I would bet anything that Callum is. Oh wait, let's see here. They're in New Zealand, basically the same. You heard it here first, folks. Yeah. Dennis,
I like the naming convention. Just want to say that the Legend of Zelda, the story of Thor, the tale of Garry. We should have all of that. All games with a naming convention. Like that.
Blank of blank. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis, how about you? Favorite knockoff game or product?
Yeah, I think I'm going to stay on the software side with this, and I used it in the picture. But the Diablo likes out there actually have some really fun and interesting ideas. So I posted a picture of Path of Exile. That one's infamous for its crazy intricate skill tree.
Yeah.
But I will also shout out Last Epoch for being a very good kind of middle point between the brainlessness of Diablo and the infinite complexity of Path of Exile.
Yeah. It also shouts out to Titan Quest, which is Diablo but Greek mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Didn't mean to hop on a rider of yours. I'm just saying if we're talking Diablo likes.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. For me, I immediately think of the hardware, right? Because everybody, you played rock, paper, scissors to see you would have to use the Mad Catz controller, right?
The turbo button.
Yeah. But man, the wireless Logitech PS2 controller that Logitech made was the first non-first party controller that I felt was better than the one that actually shipped with the console. It was incredibly sturdy. It was very reliable too. Like it had tremendous range and basically kept working. I got mine in 2004, I think. And it kept on working reliably up until I want to say 2020, something like that, before it started, the pairing started getting a little off. If every controller could just be that one, I would be perfectly fine. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm staring at my Logitech mouse that I've had for decades now.
Oh, yeah, no, I've got, everything that I have is Logitech.
The Nokia brick phone of gaming.
Yes. On the software side, I want to throw in for Rocksmith, which very much was marketed as it's Rock Band, but if you want to be legit or whatever, when in reality it's not a game, it's a learning tool. But for being marketed as the knockoff, it is one of the more successful things I have seen in being a very good thing in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Moxie, how about you?
So I've got two. One I kind of alluded to earlier is Remnant from the Ashes. I definitely say, but since that's already been mentioned, kind of the alternate, or the evil dimensional twin of this game, I feel like is Immortal Unchained.
I'm very happy that you mentioned that. If you didn't, I was going to amend because I forgot about Remnant being mentioned because I was too busy thinking of my own. Immortal Unchained is really good.
Yeah, that's one really great. I think underappreciated, and I think really makes a case for one of the few games that is very core Souls-like, but actually has its own identity.
Yeah. It does the best at capturing like a Dark Souls 1 rhythm too, with the the reload kind of acting like your stamina. That and the level design in it is incredibly on point.
Yep.
I remember watching Jeremy play this like a decade ago for a Duck stream.
Yeah. Jeremy was the person who hipped us to it. I think he might have even like executive produced an episode about it. Yeah. Immortal Unchained is great. That's a good call, Moxie.
The other one I'd call out, a kind of knockoff Zelda, was Dark Cloud.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, the one we call the town building.
Yeah, so it's it's on the good side, it's Zelda plus RPG elements. In particular, has real extensive like weapon crafting. On the downside, it's Zelda plus town building.
That's the thing people love about it. People like it's like the heir apparent to ActRaiser in a lot of people's minds.
I'd be interested to see. So I predominantly played actually Dark Souls 2.
Okay.
Or Dark Souls 2. Dark Cloud 2.
Uh-huh.
And that was one where it seemed to me like the town building had kind of overstayed its welcome.
Okay. You were there for going into the big dungeon.
Well, and also though it came across to me like it was a thing where, like, from what I played of Dark Souls 1, the town building was very additive and very cool.
Dark Cloud.
But then Dark Cloud, thank you. I'm probably going to do that like 5 more times. But then Dark Cloud 2, it really seemed like it's like, well, we did this in the first game, so we need to figure out how to do it plus more. And so, like, I remember there's the thing where it was like, you're doing the town building, but you're doing it on these, like, floating mountains. And each building has a certain amount it weighs, which determines how high the mountain floats. And so you have to, organize everything. So not only does your town work, but you've got everything floating at the right height.
That's a little fiddly.
It's like, yeah, it's like, I think I'm good.
This might be where I get off. Yeah.
Yep. And then they just never made another one because, I don't know, we live in the darkest timeline.
Truth. Ben, how about you?
All right, I'm going to throw out 3 real quick, and you can cry foul if any of them are not knockoffs. But Saints Row games, like 3 onward.
Oh shit!
Oh yeah, for sure.
See, I feel like 3. My point of order, I would be say before 3 knockoffs, after 3 GTA is the knockoff.
Yeah,
it folds back. I was going to say Simpsons Hit and Run had no business being as good as it was for just trying to be like a GTA clone. And the third one, spurred by your answers, Moxie, is Stardew Valley. It is a knockoff that is far better than the things it imitates.
God, yeah, yeah, good catch.
Also, how did I not know Simpson Hit and Run is the thing? Like, GTA The Simpsons is one of the best pitches I have ever heard.
Yeah.
I don't even remember like the core mechanics or like what the missions were. I just remember being very addicted to it and like wanting to see it through all the way.
It was very frustrating. The end game of that got excessive. Yeah. Which was the style at the time.
Think anyone was going to be playing it that long?
Yeah, you end up having to do a bunch of missions where you can't run into anything driving the Homer car.
Wait, that seems like the opposite of why I'm here.
Yeah. Otherwise, everything will explode. Ends up being a bit of a I expected to enjoy it more, which is, I guess, put that on my tombstone, I guess. I expected to enjoy this more. Good Simpsons content, though. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you folks for responding, and thank you, Dennis, for posting this. If you would like to participate in the multiplayer, join the Duckfeed community Facebook group and watch for the prompt to go up on Monday afternoons.
The end boss.
Now it's time for the end boss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games and how we feel about them. Let's see, Ben, I'm going to throw to you.
Yeah. So I'd referred to mine earlier, but this was something that happened this past week. I don't know how insular this is, but they put up a PSVR app on Steam just this past week, and the release date is August 6th, so that'll be near the time we release this. But that's the way that you're going to play games on PC through the PSVR 2, is it's basically their own app, similar to Steam VR, I imagine.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's on Steam, available now to wishlist, but it'll be released the same time the adapter comes out.
Yes.
I love how all of the console developers are just deciding that PC just doesn't count.
Yeah, it's a neutral zone. It's international waters,
as it should be.
Yeah.
So wait, is this an app to play PlayStation VR games on Steam, or is this a PlayStation app to play Steam VR games on the PSVR 2?
It should be to play PC games. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just that I think it's the same like interfacing that you have when you use it on PlayStation. So it's kind of like when you put it on, it brings up the pass-through review, so you can set up your area, like that sort of thing. Like that main menu stuff, I think, is what they're translating.
Yeah.
I would love it if this laid the groundwork to make it easier to take current PSVR 2 exclusives over to Steam.
That'd be nice. For as many of them as there are. I don't know. Depending on how well this does, maybe. Sony's really particular about the PSVR hardware kind of stuff, and there is stuff that differentiates it, but I do not know that it is as necessary to the experiences as Sony pretends it is.
All right, Dennis, I have an unethical idea. You tell the person you bought the VR from that the PSVR 2 is much better, and then when they buy it and realize that it's not, then you can get it at a tidy discount.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, drive this person to ruin.
Goes.
Yeah.
This is the third VR headset you've promised is going to be this way. I'm starting to get suspicious.
I'm going to need to start trying these things before I buy them. Yeah. Let's see. I've got one that's kind of goofy. So I am not bringing up the story because lol, the kids like Skibidi Toilet or whatever. I am perfectly fine with children liking something that is unknowable to me. That's just the way it's the way of the world. It's the way that things are going to work. If I look sideways at any of it, I judge it for contributing to children being lore poisoned, because apparently the continuity and background story and all of this is made to just be, I don't know, just lore poison. But this story, I think, is pretty interesting. So for people who do not know, Skibidi Toilet is a web series. I believe it originally was TikTok, but it's also put out on YouTube, put together by, put together, I do not know the name of the person who does it, but it's animated using Garry's mod. Old school source engine, do everything kind of like modding environment / video creation kind of deal. Like the main bad guy in it is like the G-Man from Half-Life, his head like popping out of a toilet, whole bunch of stuff. The creator of Garry's mod over the weekend received a cease and desist and a DMCA action for using his own assets in his own mod. This thing that has been around since like 2004. The creator of Skibidi Toilet has said, "I have no idea. I didn't file this." It turns out that that this was filed by. I need to look up the name of this. It's a media company, Invisible Narratives, which is a media company that is co-owned by Michael Bay and somebody named Adam Goodman. Michael Bay of like Transformers movies, specifically because there is going to be an upcoming some kind of screen like movie or TV adaptation of Skibidi Toilet
by Michael Bay.
Yeah, or at least produced by Michael Bay. So this
could have happened to a nicer director.
Yeah. So like the order of events here seems to be creator of Skibidi Toilet says, "All right, yeah, let's do this. Let's move forward on it. I'm going to get this bag while I can." And then they say, "All right," then the gears get turning for this media company to start going around and doing the cleanup and the claiming and issue one of these to the creator who made the assets that are used in the thing that they're adapting. So it's just one of these instances of like the corporate machine just churning through shit.
It's going to subpoena Valve next to be like, hey.
We're going to put the whole system on trial. That's what seems to be the case with this by the DMCA filing being related there, but it really does just seem like lawyers not knowing anything about what they're suing about. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to bring this up as the daily, the weekly youth update. This is what the children are enjoying, which of course I have to ask as our parenthood correspondent, Dennis, is this something that the kids have been exposed to through friends, or is it something that has stayed out of the Furia household?
No, I have erected a no Skibidi wall around our house.
Okay.
Will not happen here.
That's just going to make them want it more.
Look, you can be gay, you can be a furry, you can be whoever you are.
Yeah.
Do not bring that shit in here.
Drawing a line.
Being a boomer about this very specific thing.
Yeah. No, I say all that jestingly, like whatever you like.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just thought that was, I don't know, it's easy to dismiss all of this stuff, but like, Garry, the creator of Garry's mod, being sued for assets that he made.
I think the response now that they've realized the mistake or the stupidity of it is going to be important.
Yes,
because there's two ways to go. There's like doubling down and trying to be like, well, no, we need to make this ironclad, so we gotta try to be jerks about it. Or it's like, oh, come do a cameo. That's the way I want to see it go.
I'm really surprised that Jimmy Garry's mod or whatever his name is was not looped in actually when this deal was going through. But neither here nor there. Let's see, Dennis. I don't know what's happening here. Who did or didn't ban gaming?
Well, I'm on iRacer now, so I will only be doing iRacing stories going forward.
Oh boy.
No, just a fun little like video game showing up in other sporting events. Max Verstappen is probably a household name for most who have touched Formula One racing in any way. He's absolutely dominant. He's won 3 world championships, and he usually cruises to easy wins in a lot of his races. The car that he races in has been kind of technically superior for a long time, and he's done a good job with it. Well, that's starting to change, and the other teams are starting to catch up, giving Max closer and closer races, which has led to some ugly chatter, which has included allegations of Max, it's your fault we're not doing as well because you stay up too late playing video games. Specifically, Max is a big iRacer, and he does competitions in that. This most recent Grand Prix that the controversy came from, he was apparently up till 3 a.m. Taking his turn in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So it's oh, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say that seems like a real busman's holiday.
I don't know what that means.
Oh,
That
just
he's,
for somebody
he's
who
doing
who drives a bus, like taking a bus to ride somewhere, like to a destination, like that's basically just kind of your job, you know. Like the busman's holiday is like, well, no, I'm in transit all the time. Hopping on a bus would be the last thing I would want to do. Yeah.
No, he is very, very active in the online community for racing, and does really well for himself, as you would expect. I guess they won the 24 Hours of Le Mans, but there was trouble on the track, both from an engineering perspective, a strategy decision perspective, just all around things were sloppy, and that's far from Max's fault, but just because it always is, it's laid at the feet of gaming too much as the problem.
Right.
There were rumors very briefly that he was put on a curfew and told he wasn't allowed to do iRacing on real race weekends anymore.
Okay.
Which is just the funniest like toddler go to your room shit I've ever heard.
Put it in my fucking contract. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Right.
He had some blunt words about that's not the case, and like they don't tell me what to do in my personal time, I don't tell them what to do in theirs. Like basically a fuck off from him. Yeah. And he is usually very blunt with his feedback, to say the least.
Is he German?
He is Dutch, which apparently is worse.
Next week question: rankings by country. Yeah.
Let's do a tier. Let's do a tier list of countries.
In terms of the bluntness of feedback culture, yes. So lots of heated words being exchanged during the actual race. Lots of heated words being exchanged afterwards. Funny to see video games being the perpetual boogeyman.
There is precedent for this. Who here remembers Joel Zumaya?
I do not.
Joel Zumaya was an MLB pitcher. Okay, made his debut in 2006 for the Detroit Tigers. Okay, very promising. Looked like he was moving up. Had a incredibly good fastball. However, things started going south for him because of elbow injuries that were blamed on Guitar Hero.
Oh, I do remember this.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yes.
Yeah. Like
now that could be like a freak thing or a whatever. There was also in the article I'm referencing, they talk about apparently an athlete in the NFL, Kyler Murray, which Kyler, man, is a Gen Z ass name, but apparently had a study clause in his contract binding him to at least 4 hours a week studying football without distractions of video games, TV, or internet browsing.
Hey, it's in the contract. Yeah. No, but Zumaya came out and said like, yeah, that was a cover. Like that's not true. But also didn't say what
I injured it jerking off.
he didn't say what the he didn't say what actually caused the elbow issues. Just saying, well, the Guitar Hero story is gonna have to satisfy. But also,
it was to satisfy. That is,
it was some bogus stuff. Is what he said. But his career quickly went downward after this. After a whole bunch of surgeries, ended up moving to the Minnesota Twins. Had more surgeries, and then retired in disgrace in 2014. So,
oh man,
yeah, blamed on.
But how good was he at Guitar Hero?
Actually, terrible. You don't use your elbow that much.
No, you
yeah, Guitar is more of a wrist thing.
Oh no! Yeah, so,
I mean that's not the only thing you usually use your wrist more.
Am
for.
I right? High five!
Oh man,
high fives. Use that.
Yeah.
To put a cap on this, there are multiple examples of Max Verstappen winning in dominant fashion after being up all night gaming.
Oh yeah.
So there's even if this it is an isolated incident.
Yeah. Oh man, I need to look at the name of this guy. There's sports. Doc Ellis pitched a no-hitter in 1970 while completely out of his mind on acid. So I don't know. Just let people do what they want in their personal lives.
How have they never made that sports movie?
It really needs to. It's not that interesting of a story. He just forgot there was a game the next day.
Oh no!
He dosed like late at night. Was called in for this game. And it started peaking around the time when he was on the mound. He didn't even realize, he didn't even realize that he was like throwing a no hitter. He was just doing his thing. Yeah.
Oh man, performance enhancing drug.
Sports. Moxie, round us out. You put a couple stories here, so I'll defer to you.
Yeah, so I had one where I was just going to complain about Robert Downey Jr. Returning to Marvel, but then I found one that's actually more on topic and less of me being a curmudgeon. Mm-hmm. So Activision is releasing the Caldera map from Call of Duty Warzone for academic use. So they are releasing apparently the full geometry of the map, which includes both the actual what you'd think of as the map, and it appears to also include the various clutter and props and stuff like that are scattered around. But they're also releasing data on how players move through the map, what paths they take, that sort of thing.
Oh shit!
Okay,
That's
it
awesome.
appears that one of their main idea of how this will be used is for training AI.
Okay.
Shit! That's not awesome.
Yeah, no, that's gonna definitely be used on a cop that's gonna kill a cop bot that's gonna kill a protester. Yeah.
But maybe it could also be used for less questionable things.
Then it runs over and teabags the protester.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no.
I don't know what else you would use it for, but there's probably something.
I mean, just studying foot traffic flows in outdoor kind of non-uniform spaces. It could be used for like civil engineering, architecture kind of stuff. There are use cases for things like this. I'm not familiar with the map because I haven't played one of those games in more than a decade. Is anybody here familiar with that map?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. But I mean, even just within game design, it could be fascinating. Especially if they're tracking metadata on how is someone doing in the map as you die more frequently. Do you tend to change your behavior, take riskier approaches, that sort of thing.
I would love
that could lead to some interesting insights.
I would love to see if I could figure out where does everyone always camp and just blindly chuck a grenade there?
Statistically, I'm just more likely for this to work. So I'd be dumb not to.
They call that the Counter-Strike.
Yes.
I will say the geometry that they release of the pathing of all 100 players on the dropping down or whatever, that looks really cool.
Yeah.
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 I love okay, so for this is a auditory medium we're in, so basically it looks like a ton of scribbles. Mm-hmm. But my favorite is if you look, there's a couple of paths that looks like someone's just doing kind of loop-de-loos. And I kind of want to know what was up with that dude.
There's also a couple that are definitively I'm going here. Nope.
Yeah, any of that shit, I gobble that up. Any heap map, getting creative with replay data.
I remember, I think it was Killzone 3. It was something early in the PS4's life, I think. Whatever Killzone was with PS4's release, had a website where you could go and see this kind of data for every single match you played.
Wow.
Cool. So I think it's been best practice to like track this data for a long time. It's cool to see someone so big open up to kind of crowdsource insights.
Yeah. It's used internally all the time for, tweaks and things like that, just to understand, where
Also
stuff is.
reproducing bugs, probably.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, sure. You can tell which one of us is the most ingrained in that.
Right. And needing to search for bugs. Yeah. Well, good of them. I hope, it's, unless somebody asks for this, it is kind of weird though to say, hey, this is available if you want to take it, academia. Just at what point does this become a tax write-off? Like, what's the?
Oh no, is that what this is? God.
Maybe it could be. I don't know. Accountants are tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, how does everybody feel about buttoning it up?
Let's button this.
Yeah.
The credit.
And right on cue, Greta comes in. Looking for treats. It is uncanny. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to level number 510. We really appreciate you taking the time. Dennis, you're going to be at Gen Con, right?
Yes. So you can sign up for events to play Deck of Wonders with me. I'll be over in the stadium all day. You can go to Lauren Brown's booth in the art show, booth 24. And she will not only have amazing works of her own, but she will also have Deck of Wonders stuff.
Nice.
And then you can back the Kickstarter, whether or not you are at Gen Con, starting on August 1st. So it'll probably go live around like 9 or 10. Mm-hmm. And man, I hope we get a lot of people in there quickly. So if you can be part of helping us do that, I will be forever grateful.
Yeah. So yeah, just search for Deck of Wonders on Kickstarter. Look it up. Yeah. As for this show, the stuff you can do. Ratings, reviews, participate in the multiplayer, and the Duckfeed community Facebook group. Yeah. Patronize. You've heard podcasts before. You're good. I've been Cole Ross. You can find me on Blue Sky at Cole Ross.
I've been Dennis Furia. You can find me at Gen Con.
I'm Moxie.
I've been Ben Merkel.
And stick around for some titles. Okay, I only have one. I have Trout is Scarier.
That's pretty good. Can appreciate that.
Okay. Dennis, what do you have?
I've got 3. Okay. I've got the Kunitsu-Gami box.
I need to spell that. Kunitsu-Gami. Yeah. There we go.
I also have I expected to enjoy this more.
Okay.
And then from the Michael Bay discussion, couldn't have happened to a nicer director.
Okay. All right. Ben, what do you have?
I have nothing.
Okay. Moxie, what do you have?
I had Dutch, which apparently is worse, but I feel like that's kind of I don't know. I feel like that's
Yeah, you don't want to get nationalistic.
Xenophobic.
Yeah.
Jingoistic, yeah.
Was that all you had?
Yep.
I really I expected to like this more.
I'm down for that.
Okay. All right.
That's from the Simpsons Hit and Run discussion.
Yes. And the Deadpool. Yeah. It's a thing that I say all the time, right? It is good to talk about things in terms of expectations, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it is decided.